Tonight, we're diving into a topic that most traditional history books tend to skim over: the lives of women who worked in Victorian-era brothels. Now, I know that might sound like an odd theme for a bedtime story, but truly, it's a captivating and often overlooked chapter of real human history, about women simply doing what they had to in order to survive. If you find yourself intrigued by these narratives, I'd love it if you left a like or hit subscribe. I'm always amazed to hear where people are tuning in from, so drop a comment with your city and current time. It never ceases to amaze me how these stories lull people to sleep all around the globe. Alright, time to settle in. Let your body relax into whatever you're lying on. Take a slow, deep breath and let the outside world drift away. We're traveling back to the gritty, foggy streets of Victorian London. And trust me, by the end of the story, you'll be even more thankful for your modern mattress. Welcome to London. The year is 1857, right in the heart of the Victorian era. You're waking up in the early morning hours, probably around 5 or 6, but don't expect silk sheets and a feather bed. Instead, you're stretched out on a slightly uneven horsehair mattress, a thin woolen blanket barely warding off the chill. The linens haven't been changed in a week. They rarely are, and they carry a faint aroma of cheap lavender water attempting to disguise the underlying damp musk. The air bites at your skin. Coal is rationed tightly, especially for morning fires, so the fireplace in your tiny room offers little relief. The walls are covered in faded floral wallpaper, curling at the corners where moisture has crept in over time. There's a particular smell in the air, thick and layered. Coal smoke from 1,000 chimneys mingles with the River Thames nearby, its aroma equal parts mud and raw sewage. Overlaying that is a faint chemical sweetness, perfumes and powders, the everyday tools of your trade. You're in one of the back rooms of a brothel in London's Haymarket district. Not the worst place by any stretch, but certainly not the most exclusive either. You're not alone. Another woman shares this cramped space with you, still curled up on her own lumpy bed. Her slow, steady breathing hints at a dreamless sleep. The bed springs groan slightly beneath your weight as you stretch your legs out, pointing your toes before letting them relax again. That moment of release feels good. A small luxury before the day begins. Outside your window, London is already stirring. You hear horses clopping on cobblestones, the creak of wooden wheels, and the first vendors beginning their morning cries. Fresh bread! Someone hollers from a nearby street, the sound bouncing between narrow buildings. This is your world, Mary. That's the name they use here, though it's not the one your mother gave you. You've been living in this house for close to 2 years, which makes you a familiar face. You've seen women arrive wide-eyed and desperate, and you've watched many of them leave, some finding better houses, some vanishing back into the streets they came from, some falling ill and never recovering. You sit up slowly, letting the coarse blanket pool around your waist. Your bare feet meet the icy wooden floor as you reach for the shawl hanging from the bedpost, wrapping it snugly around your shoulders. The small comfort warms you slightly. On the nightstand between the two beds sits a chipped ceramic pitcher filled with water, now coated with a thin layer of ice. Winter in London is unforgiving. You crack the ice with a finger, the cold biting into your skin, then splash your face. The shock of it steals your breath for a second, but it wakes you up completely. So, how did you end up here? Because the story isn't what most people imagine. You weren't stolen from your family or sold off as a child, although such tragedies were not uncommon. Nor were you seduced and abandoned by a gentleman, left pregnant and penniless. That too happened often. Your story, however, is far more ordinary, and all the more telling because of it. You were a seamstress, A skilled one with quick fingers and a meticulous eye. But so were thousands of other women in London, all clawing for the same poorly paid work. One periodical had once written that, compared to the soul-crushing labor of a dressmaker's apprentice, factory work was child's play, and they weren't far off. You worked 14, sometimes 16 hours a day, straining your eyes in dim light. Your fingers cracked and bled in the cold. And for what? Meager wages that barely kept you fed. You lean back against the wall, its cool firmness grounding you. Taking a deep breath, you roll your shoulders, releasing the ache that lives there. You remember clearly the moment when everything changed. It was 3 winters ago. You hadn't eaten in days. The room you rented back then was icy cold. You could see your breath as you worked frantically to finish a commission that might just pay for another week's lodging. Your fingers were so numb you kept pricking them with the needle, tiny red dots blooming on the white linen. Then Jane, a girl you used to work with, came by. She looked different, healthier, more alert, wearing a woolen dress that, while not fancy, was clean, warm, and fit her properly. She brought food, a meat pie still warm, and sat with you as you devoured it, trying not to appear as desperate as you felt. "There's a place," she said eventually, "off Haymarket. Madam's strict but fair. No rough business. 2 meals a day. Weekly checkups. Decent beds." She watched your expression carefully. You'd earn in one night what you make in a week at that needle. And you wouldn't be slowly killing yourself. She gestured toward your sewing. You didn't say yes immediately. You were raised proper in a household that feared God. But your parents were gone, your brothers scattered to the winds. And here you were, starving stitch by stitch. The memory settles over you. You feel your body sink a little deeper into the mattress. Your breath slows. In just like that. Around you, the house begins to stir. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. Likely Mrs. Winters, the housekeeper. The clank of coal being shoveled. Someone's lighting a fire in the downstairs parlor, where customers will eventually gather. The scent of coffee wafts up. Real coffee, not the barley substitute common elsewhere. Small luxuries set this house apart. Your roommate murmurs something in her sleep, then shifts. Lily, she's called here. Younger than you by a few years, with auburn hair the gentlemen adore. She once told you she came from a factory in Manchester, where the constant roar of machinery left her partially deaf in one ear. Time to rise. Duties await. Mrs. Winters won't tolerate lateness, and the madam, Mrs. Cartwright, though the girls sometimes call her Carty when she's not within earshot, expects everyone downstairs washed and properly dressed by noon. The house follows a precise schedule. Mornings are reserved for rest and cleaning. Afternoons bring in a few regulars. But the nights? That's when the real business begins. Yet in this brief morning lull, you move slowly, savoring the quiet. You reach for a small tin from the nightstand, warming a lump of beeswax between your palms before smoothing it across your chapped lips. Another modest indulgence. Mrs. Cartwright insists her girls maintain their appearance. "You're selling a dream," she always says. "No one wants to see the truth behind it." And she's right. Men don't come here seeking reality. They come looking for escape, for softness, attention, something that makes them feel important or simply seen. You stand and stretch, arms rising toward the low ceiling, feeling the subtle pull in your muscles. Your cotton nightdress sways around your ankles. You cross to the small wardrobe. During the day, you wear simple clothes, nothing to mark you as different from any other working woman in London. That anonymity is essential. Brothels themselves might be tolerated, but public solicitation is not. You pull out a faded but neatly mended blue dress and lay it out on the bed. Dressing now is a slower, more thoughtful ritual. Stockings first, then petticoat, then the corset, not tightly laced for now, just enough to shape your form. Your mind drifts to the day ahead. Tuesdays are usually quiet. Perhaps Mr. Phillips will visit. The quiet clerk who mostly wants someone to talk to about his stamp collection. Or the anxious young man who calls himself Smith, never staying more than a quarter hour. Outside, the day begins to brighten. Children's laughter rings out below. A dog barks. A vendor's rhythmic chant rises. Knives to grind, knives to grind. This strange, double life you lead takes place side by side with ordinary existence. The baker delivers to your brothel just as he does next door. The coalman, the iceman, they all come, providing their services, no questions asked. You sit once more on the edge of the bed, taking a steady breath, in preparing yourself for whatever today brings, just like he does for the boarding house next door. The coalman, the iceman, they all come and go, delivering services without question, treating this place no differently than any other respectable household. It's a strange kind of coexistence. One foot in the shadows, one in the everyday bustle of the city. You lower yourself back onto the edge of the bed, taking a slow, measured breath. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Steady now. Easy. There's a soft knock at the door. Hot water, miss. Comes a young voice, Betsy. She's the maid of all work in the house, only 13 years old. Too young for the kind of business this house is known for. Mrs. Cartwright took her in after finding her huddled on the street one night, gaunt and shaking with hunger. These days, Betsy helps with cleaning, errands, and odd jobs, sleeping in a small cupboard of a room just off the kitchen. She'll likely join the older girls in time. That's the grim reality of the world outside. But for now, she's safe, protected, and in this city that's saying something. "Come in, Betsy," you say gently. The door creaks open, and the girl steps in, balancing a heavy jug of steaming water. Her cheeks are pink from scrubbing, her brown hair woven into neat braids. "Morning, Miss Mary," she says with a smile, pouring the water carefully into your basin. "Cold one today. Mrs. Winters says it might snow later." "Thank you, Betsy." You smile at her genuinely. "Have you had breakfast yet?" "Yes, miss. Cook made porridge with treacle. There's fresh bread in the kitchen too. And real coffee. That's another mark of this house. Decent meals, and regularly too. In many brothels, girls go hungry when business is slow. Food might consist of leftovers from the customers or barely edible scraps. But not here. Mrs. Cartwright knows a well-fed girl is a profitable girl. Thin and sickly doesn't sell. As Betsy leaves, you dip your hands into the basin, the warmth of the water delicious against your chilled skin. You wash yourself properly now, face, neck, arms, underarms, then more intimate places. Full baths are reserved for twice a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, when the copper tub is hauled into the kitchen and filled with heated water. It's more frequent than most working-class women manage. Really, as you finish, you feel more like yourself. The simple act of washing away the night gives you a sense of clarity. You take up your comb and begin pulling it through your thick dark hair, the teeth tugging gently as you work through the tangles. It falls midway down your back when left loose. But for today, you twist it into a tidy knot at the nape of your neck. Later, when you're on duty, you'll pin it into a more styled arrangement, perhaps adding in a curled hairpiece for fullness. There's a small mirror perched atop the dresser, its surface tarnished with age. You glance at your reflection. Your face has filled out since your seamstress days. Regular meals have rounded your cheeks slightly, softened the sharpness in your features. Your complexion is healthier. But your eyes are different, sharper, more guarded. They've seen things the young country girl you once were could never have imagined. You push those thoughts away. No use dwelling on the past. You finish dressing quickly. Petticoat, corset, and the simple blue dress you laid out earlier. Boots come last, laced up with nimble fingers that know the motion by heart. Each part of the process settles you, roots you in the rhythm of the day. Downstairs, you can hear the hum of morning activity, the creak of stairs, Mrs. Winters barking instructions, the crackle of flames being coaxed to life in the parlor hearth, coffee being poured, bread sliced. This house, like all homes, has its pulse, and you've learned to move with it. Lily finally stirs behind you, letting out a yawn as she sits up, hair tousled across her face. "Morning," she mumbles, voice thick with sleep. "Just after 7. You tell her, wrapping a belt around your waist. "Still time." She stretches, arms above her head. "Had that dream again, the one about the seaside. Have you ever been, Mary?" You pause, thinking. "Once. Brighton. I was a child. It was brighter than London. Windy. The sea was louder than I expected." "I'd like to go someday," Lily says, wistful. "They say the air's cleaner. You can breathe proper." It's a common fantasy among the girls. Saving enough to leave the city, to find a place where life is less cruel. Some dream of coastal towns, some of small country cottages, some just want a room of their own. The future. "Keep saving," you tell her. "Even a little helps." She nods, but both of you know how hard that is. A torn dress, a bad tooth, a sick friend. Money always has somewhere else to go. Still, the dream matters, keeps the flame alive inside you. And sometimes, that flicker of hope is enough to get through the day. You give Lily a playful nudge. "Better get moving." Mrs. Winters was stomping around earlier. You know what that means. She's got her broom out and fire in her eyes. Lily laughs groggily. I'm going. You leave the room, pulling the door shut quietly behind you. The hallway is dim, carpet worn down the middle. For other bedrooms line this floor, each similar to yours. Downstairs are the common areas, the parlor for entertaining, a small dining room, the kitchen, and the servants' quarters tucked away in the back. The house itself is narrow and tall, wedged between others on a side street. From the outside, it appears respectable. Clean windows, fresh curtains, a neatly painted door. No red lantern, no flashing signs. Its reputation is spread discreetly, through whisper, nod, coded listings in gentlemen's newspapers, cabbies and hotel porters paid to guide the curious to its door. As you descend the stairs, the rich smell of bacon greets you, mingled with smoke and coffee. Your stomach gives a small appreciative growl. The stairs creak beneath your boots, each step familiar, well-worn. You trail your fingers along the banister, polished by years of use. The house feels warmer now. Fires lit, rooms coming to life. You hear the clatter of plates, Mrs. Winters instructing cook, Betsy moving about with brisk energy. A household in motion. For a moment, it could almost be any house. Any morning. A brief illusion of normalcy before the unique rhythm of your work takes over. You breathe in deeply. The scent of bread baking settles into your lungs. Steady and slow. You feel your body relax into the predictability of the morning. You pause at the bottom of the stairs. The kitchen door is open. Light spills out, golden and warm. You see Cook at the stove, her wide back hunched as she stirs. Betsy sets places at the large table tucked into the corner, her small hands arranging cutlery with care. Mrs. Winters sits by the window, glasses on, reading a letter, her graying hair tucked under her cap. A slice of quiet domestic life, ordinary in its own way. You step into the warmth, the aroma of bacon intensifying, mouth-watering. The wooden floor is warm beneath your boots. "Morning, Mary." Cook calls, not even turning. She always knows who it is by the sound of your steps. "Sleep well." "Well enough," you reply, moving to help Betsy with the table. The familiarity of the task is comforting. Each plate, each spoon in its proper place. A quiet rhythm that eases the mind. Outside, London continues to wake. A bell tolls the hour from a distant church. Vendors cry out. Horses trot past. The city breathes, rising and falling, like the sea in Lily's dream. Inhale, exhale. And here you are, in the middle of it, steady and still. The smell of freshly baked bread deepens as Cook pulls a loaf from the oven. His golden crust cracks softly as it cools. The kitchen table, large and worn, seats 8. Just enough for the 5 girls, Cook, Betsy, and Mrs. Winters. Mrs. Cartwright eats separately in her sitting room. Distance is her tool. Necessary, she says, to manage properly. You slip into your usual seat. The wooden chair is smooth under your palms, the surface shaped by years of use. There's comfort in that familiarity, in continuity, in something that endures. Cook brings over a pot of porridge, heavy and steaming, thick, made with milk instead of water, and drizzled with treacle. It smells divine. "Eat while it's hot," she says, cheeks flushed from the stove. She's a widow, came here after her husband passed. Doesn't judge, doesn't ask questions, just cooks and ensures everyone is fed. You scoop a bowlful, steam curling up to meet your face. The first bite is sweet and creamy, warm against your tongue. You close your eyes for a second, letting the comfort sink in. Gradually, the others arrive. Emily first, then Sarah, older, sharp with numbers. She manages the books with Mrs. Cartwright. Josephine comes last, still adjusting to this world, eyes shadowed from tears. Lily finally appears, hair pinned up haphazardly, eyes half closed. Mrs. Winters begins pouring the coffee. Real coffee, strong, bitter. You cradle the cup in both hands, the warmth spreading into your fingers. Feels good, grounding. Breakfast is a quiet time. No business talk, just the weather, small gossip. Someone saw the butcher's boy slip in the alley. The greengrocer's wife might be expecting again. Ordinary chatter. It matters, this morning normalcy. It reminds you that beyond the work, this is a place where people live and breathe and eat and hope. A strange little family, perhaps, but a family nonetheless. You take another sip of coffee, rich and slightly bitter, and breathe in its scent. Just like that. A touch above the bare minimum you'd find in less reputable places. Eat while it's hot, Cook says, her round cheeks glowing from the stove's heat. She's a stout woman in her early 50s, her arms strong from years of kneading dough and stirring heavy pots. A widow now, her husband died suddenly, leaving her with no money and nowhere to go. She came here because it was the only place hiring. She never speaks about what the house really does. She doesn't have to. She simply cooks, cleans, and makes sure the girls are fed. In her mind, food is the cornerstone of well-being. And she's not wrong. You serve yourself a generous helping of porridge, thick and creamy, still steaming in gentle curls. The first spoonful hits your tongue, sweet with treacle, velvety in texture. You close your eyes momentarily, savoring the comfort of warmth spreading through your belly. There's a particular pleasure in eating good food when you've known hunger. One by one, the other girls drift in. Emily arrives first, a tiny, energetic blonde who's been in the house about 6 months. She always has a slightly mischievous spark in her eye. Next comes Sarah, the eldest of the group, pushing 30, which makes her practically ancient in this line of work. She's got a no-nonsense air and a head for figures that rivals any clerk. Mrs. Cartwright relies on her to keep the books in order. Then Josephine enters, moving a little slower. She's new, still learning how to carry herself in this world. Her eyes often look red, as though she's been crying when no one's watching. And finally, Lily returns, hair loosely pinned, her usual dreamy expression still soft with sleep. Mrs. Winters begins pouring the coffee. No barley substitute here, a real, rich brew. Strong enough to cut through morning fog, sweetened for those who prefer it that way. You wrap your hands around your cup, letting the heat seep into your palms. Breakfast is a quiet affair. There's an unspoken rule: business isn't discussed over food. Instead, the conversation drifts easily to trivial things. Emily laughs about the butcher's boy slipping in the alley and dropping a whole string of sausages. Sarah raises an eyebrow about the greengrocer's wife. She's definitely expecting again, she says confidently. Betsy listens with wide eyes, not always understanding but eager to be included. This ordinary talk matters. It builds a sense of normalcy, of belonging. A reminder that even here, in a brothel tucked behind the fog of London, life continues. People gossip, eat, laugh. It's a place of work, yes, but also a place where people live. You take another bite of porridge. It's delicious. Smooth, hearty, sweet. Your stomach feels full in a good way. You let yourself lean back slightly in your chair, allowing that moment of contentment to settle in. When breakfast ends, the girls begin their assigned chores. The house runs like a finely tuned machine. Everyone has duties: dusting, polishing, scrubbing, tasks meant not only to maintain the house, but to instill a sense of order. Mrs. Cartwright believes discipline keeps chaos at bay. She's seen too many establishments slide into disarray and filth, both physical and moral, when rules are allowed to slip. This morning, your duties include dusting the parlor and polishing the glasses in the small bar. Not glamorous work, but something in the simplicity of it is comforting. There's rhythm to it, a motion that doesn't require too much thought, allowing your mind to drift. The parlor is the heart of the house when customers arrive. It's been carefully designed to walk a fine line, elegant enough to suggest class, restrained enough to avoid suspicion. Heavy curtains in deep red velvet hang beside the windows, tied back now to allow what little daylight the London sky can offer. The furniture is sturdy, dark-wooded, cushioned in the same red velvet. Worn at the edges, but still rich in appearance. Paintings hang on the walls, mostly pastoral landscapes, with one mildly risque classical scene featuring half-draped nymphs. Just enough suggestion. Just enough fantasy. Nothing too obvious. Discretion is the rule here. Everything designed to appear respectable just in case someone, especially someone official, comes knocking. You start with the feather duster, moving methodically around the room. Surfaces first: mantelpiece, windowsills, the tops of picture frames. Then, with a damp cloth, you go over the details, the carved edges of furniture, the corners of the mantel. You hear the sounds of the house continuing around you. Cook humming tunelessly in the kitchen. Lily upstairs, her footsteps light as she makes the beds. Mrs. Winters showing Betsy how to properly black the range. These are the sounds of routine. Of a life that, however unorthodox, is still a life. The mantel holds a collection of delicate items: a porcelain shepherdess, a brass carriage clock that ticks steadily, and 2 matching urns. You handle each gently, wiping them clean and returning them precisely. Mrs. Cartwright has a sharp eye. If even one item is out of place, she notices. Through the window, you catch glimpses of the world outside. A maid next door beating a rug, a cat balancing carefully on a garden wall, a young boy racing past with a letter in hand. Fragments of daily life that continue whether you're watching or not. In the corner of the parlor is the house's modest bar. It's nothing flashy, just a small cabinet with a set of glasses and a few bottles of sherry and brandy. These are for guests. A drink offered upon arrival to smooth the way, break the tension, suggest hospitality. You begin polishing the glasses one at a time. London air being what it is, dust settles quickly. The glasses grow dull even if unused. You pick one up, breathe gently onto its surface, then buff it in small circles with a soft cloth. The glass squeaks faintly as it clears. You repeat the process. Round and round, your breath syncing with the motion. Inhale, wipe, exhale, polish. The repetition is meditative. You handle each glass with care. Enough pressure to make it shine, not so much as to risk cracking the fragile rim. You've learned these small balances. How to polish, how to smile, how to walk the line between comfort and control. Time passes quietly as you work. The light shifts subtly across the floor. Your mind begins to wander toward the afternoon, toward the book you're reading in snatches when you can. It's a Dickens novel borrowed from Sarah, who gets them through a gentleman customer who owns a bookshop. You think about the ribbon you saw in the shop yesterday, blue satin, just the shade that flatters your eyes. If business is good this week, maybe you'll buy it. These are small thoughts. Immediate. Manageable. You've trained yourself not to think too far ahead or too far back. A door opens downstairs, breaking your reverie. Heavy footsteps in the hall. A man's gait. Then Mrs. Cartwright's voice, lower than usual, polite but professional. "Good morning, doctor. Thank you for being so prompt. Wednesday. It's examination day. Every week, a doctor visits to check the girls. It's one of Mrs. Cartwright's strictest rules. Health comes before everything else. In less careful houses, disease spreads like fire, endangering not just the women, but the customers too. That's bad for business. Bad for survival. Here, any girl showing symptoms is removed from the roster immediately. Treated, cared for, and not returned to work until fully recovered. It's an expense, but one that preserves the house's reputation and income over time. You place the final glass back into the cabinet, its surface gleaming. The doctor's presence marks a shift in the house's energy. The usual rhythm pauses. The morning now belongs to checkups. Examinations are held in Mrs. Cartwright's private sitting room, transformed temporarily into a consultation space. Each girl is seen one by one. The results recorded neatly in a leather-bound notebook kept locked away when not in use. You carry your cloth back to the kitchen, where the scent of stew has begun to rise. Cook is supervising as Betsy chops vegetables, onions, carrots. Their fresh, earthy smell blends with the sweet tang of rising bread dough. Comforting. Homely. Parlor's finished, you tell Mrs. Winters. Need a hand while I wait my turn? She looks up from watching Betsy's knife work. He's seeing Josephine first, then Lily. You've got a bit of time. Might want to take care of your washing while you wait. Personal laundry. Each girl handles her own, particularly the more delicate items. The house laundress only manages the larger pieces, sheets, towels, things from the common rooms. So Wednesday mornings before bathing are often used to wash shifts, underthings, cloths used during courses. You collect your basket from a narrow cupboard off the kitchen and carry it into the scullery. The room is colder, with stone flooring and a large sink. You pump cold water into a wide copper basin, then carefully mix in hot water from the stove's kettle to warm it. Washing is physical, satisfying. Hands in the water. Soap rubbed into fabric. Dirt and blood and life scrubbed away. The water turns cloudy. Bubbles shimmer briefly before bursting. You scrub each item gently but thoroughly. The cloths, the drawers, the cotton chemise you wore yesterday. This quiet chore gives you time to think. The doctor's visit always makes you introspective. Reminds you of the risks. Of what this job can take from you, health, youth, even life. You've seen it before. Coughs that didn't go away. Sores that wouldn't heal. Girls who vanished to hospitals or worse. So far, you've been lucky. Careful. Mrs. Cartwright enforces safety. It's not foolproof, but it helps. Weekly exams catch problems early. Early can mean treatable. Still, the odds stack up over time. Few women make it through more than a few years unscathed. That's the quiet truth of it. You wring out a chemise, twisting the fabric tight, muscles flexing with emotion. The skin of your hands is still mostly soft. That matters. Rough hands don't sell illusion. You carry the damp laundry out to the tiny backyard. A clothesline stretches from the wall to a post. You peg each piece with care, spacing them evenly. The air is crisp, dry. Good drying weather if the snow holds off. The yard is small but open to the sky. You lift your face upward. The winter sun is pale but real. You feel it against your skin. Cool air fills your lungs. A quiet moment. Just breath and light and sky. The door creaks again. Lily pokes her head out. Doctor's nearly done with me. You're next. She pauses, seeing your face tilted skyward. Anything interesting up there? You lower your gaze and smile. Just clouds. Just light. Just the sky. She snorts gently. Come in before you freeze. Mrs. Winters is heating tea and Cook made those currant buns you like. You smile wider. Temptation wins. You follow Lily inside, your cheeks tingling from the cold. Even so, you're well aware this kind of fortune doesn't last forever. In this line of work, very few women make it more than a handful of years before illness inevitably comes knocking. It's always a balance. A gamble. You weigh the certainty of slowly starving on respectable wages against the chance of falling ill with something you can't shake. For now, you've been fortunate. You wring out the final piece of clothing, a thin cotton chemise, twisting it tightly to force out every last drop. Your forearms flex with emotion. There's a quiet satisfaction in the sensation of strength, of control over this one small task. Your hands, despite the hot water and caustic soap, remain smooth, soft to the touch, an essential detail. Clients don't want coarse fingers on their skin. They want softness. The illusion of luxury. Carrying the basket of damp laundry, you return to the backyard behind the kitchen. A line stretches between the wall of the house and a wooden post set in the far corner. You begin pinning the wet garments, spacing them out carefully, the wooden pegs snapping closed over fabric. The air is biting but dry, a blessing in London. If the promised snow holds off, the laundry will dry well enough by afternoon. The yard is barely a yard at all, just a patch of flagstones surrounded by brick walls with a few struggling plants in chipped ceramic pots. But the sky is open above you, and for a moment, that's enough. You tip your head back, letting the pale winter sunlight touch your face. It's weak but real, a fragile light in a cold city. You close your eyes and breathe it in. Not clean air, no, the tang of coal and smoke still clings to the breeze, but it's fresher than inside. Sharper, less perfumed, less perfunctory. Just air. Your breath grows deeper. Your chest expands. The cold makes you aware of your own body, your hands tingling, your cheeks prickling, your limbs alert. There's a kind of aliveness in it, a moment where the work and the walls fall away. Just your body. Just the sky. Just being. The back door creaks open behind you. Doctor's almost done with me, Lily calls. You're next. You glance back to find her standing in the doorway, arms folded, hair now brushed and shining in the pale light. She notices your gaze. Anything good up there? She asks with a slight smile. You exhale through your nose and shrug. The usual. A little sun. A lot of clouds. A bit of freedom, maybe. She huffs a soft laugh. Well, come inside before that freedom gives you frostbite. Mrs. Winters has the kettle on and Cook's made those currant buns again. The promise of warmth and food is irresistible. You follow her back into the house where the air is immediately warmer, thicker. The chill lifts from your skin as blood returns to your fingertips. The shift is always sudden, outdoor sharpness replaced by indoor closeness. Comfort. Containment. The kitchen is alive again. Cook is at the table, elbows dusted in flour as she rolls out dough for the afternoon pie. Her hands are practiced and strong, the pastry giving way under the pressure of her rolling pin. Mrs. Winters sits in her usual corner chair, a darning needle flashing as she repairs a stocking with quiet precision. Betsy flits between them, fetching ingredients, wiping spills, absorbing the rhythm of adult life. Lily hands you a mug of tea, black, steaming, fragrant with just the slightest bitterness. You wrap your hands around it, letting the warmth soak into your palms. The steam rises into your face, fogging your lashes slightly. You blow gently across the top of the mug. The ripples spread in tiny circles, concentric, precise, comforting in their symmetry. The laws of cause and effect in miniature. The physics of something simple. Predictable. How is it? You ask Lily quietly, meeting the exam. She sips her own tea and shrugs. Same as usual. Cold hands. Check this, check that. Wrote in his book. Said I'm clear. There's a pause. Then she adds more softly, Josephine wasn't. Your eyes shift slightly, concern knitting in your brow. Mrs. Cartwright told her to rest a week. 3 doses of medicine a day, no clients until she's better. You nod. You've seen Josephine struggling. Pale skin, that rasp in her chest. She's young, and it's likely nothing serious yet, but in this world, nothing serious can change overnight. The bell rings in the hallway. Mrs. Cartwright's signal. 1 ring, next girl. That's you, Lily says, taking a bite of her currant bun. Don't worry, he was in a good mood today. Didn't poke too hard. You set your tea down reluctantly. It had just reached the perfect drinking temperature. But the doctor doesn't wait. His time is expensive and in demand. He works with several houses across the city. As you leave the kitchen, you smooth your hair and straighten your dress out of habit. Everything must look composed, professional, even for a clinical appointment. Mrs. Cartwright's sitting room has been transformed. Her rosewood desk is cleared of personal items and now wears a white cloth. On top rest a series of glass vials, a stethoscope, a folded towel, and the small leather-bound notebook where he records his findings. Dr. Harrison is already inside. He's in his early 50s, well-kept with graying temples and a trimmed beard. Unlike many in his profession who treat women like you with disdain or detachment, he is consistently courteous. Efficient, yes, but not cruel. Ah, Mary, he greets, glancing up as he finishes washing his hands. How have you been? Any concerns this week? It's always how he begins. As if you're a person, not just another body to check. That small grace matters more than it should. Well enough, doctor, you say? Nothing to report. He nods. Good. Then let's proceed. Mrs. Cartwright sits quietly in a chair in the far corner, present but deliberately turned away, eyes focused on the window. She's not here to supervise the exam itself, only to ensure protocol is followed. Another boundary respected. Another kindness wrapped in formality. The examination is routine, stethoscope to chest, fingers at the throat, tongue depressor. Breathing, pulse, reflexes. And then the more intimate part. Always done with gloves. Always quick. His hands are cold but impersonal. You've learned how to mentally separate during this, detach your mind, think of something else. The book waiting for you upstairs. The smell of the currant bun Lily just had. The feel of winter sunlight in the backyard. You hold those things in your mind like a charm. When it's done, he steps back. All in order, he says, stripping off his gloves. Continue your routine. He notes something in the ledger, then gives Mrs. Cartwright a small nod. She stands and shows you to the door. Send Sarah in next, please, she says in a hushed voice. You walk back toward the kitchen, your steps slow. You're not in pain. The doctor was gentle. But there's always a hollow feeling afterward. A strange sensation of being reduced. Seen only for what your body can offer or threaten. Necessary, yes, but not without its sting. Back in the warmth of the kitchen, you find your tea waiting, now lukewarm but still comforting. You take a long sip, letting it wash the sterile taste of the exam room from your mouth. Then you reach for a currant bun. It's still slightly warm, the golden crust flaking under your fingers. You bite in. The fruit is sweet, the dough tender. It's delicious. The hallway clock chimes noon. Morning has slipped away as it usually does on days like this. Soon, the house will shift into its afternoon rhythm. You'll change clothes, touch up your hair, prepare for visitors. But for now, this moment is yours. The bun. The tea. The soft kitchen air filled with scent and warmth. You sit with it, breathe with it. In. Out. Present and whole. Just this. Just now. Ready now? You settle on the edge of your bed, taking a moment just to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, slow, steady. You're preparing yourself for what comes next, for the transition from who you are privately to who you must be professionally. That shift is essential, not just for appearances, but for survival. It creates a mental boundary, one that keeps you whole amid a life that tries to pull you apart. Your body feels calm, limbs loose. Your mind is clear. The mattress beneath you offers a familiar support, sagging slightly beneath your weight in a way that's almost comforting. You reach out, your fingers brushing the blanket beside you. Its texture is coarse, a little worn, slightly scratchy, but real, tangible. That physical connection grounds you, reminds you of the present, of what is real. Then the sounds start. From downstairs, the front door opens, then shuts with a soft thump. You hear footsteps. A man's voice, low, uncertain. Then Mrs. Cartwright's warm, practiced tone welcoming the guest like an old friend. The afternoon has officially begun. You stand. Smooth your skirt with a slow pass of your palms. Then you take a deep breath, one final inhale, deep and full. You hold it a moment, then exhale, letting the tension slip down your spine, out through your fingertips. All right? You're ready. Your hand rests on the doorknob. It feels cool beneath your skin. The hallway waits beyond, lined with time-worn wallpaper and dim light filtering in through a narrow window. You step out, one foot after another. Down the stairs now, each creak underfoot a rhythm you've come to know well. The polished wood of the banister glides under your hand as you descend. The house has shifted. You can feel it in the air. There's an energy now, a hum beneath the surface, like a stage just before curtain rise. Voices float from the parlor. Mrs. Cartwright's still soothing and confident. A man responds, his voice middle-aged, polite, slightly formal. Someone new, you think. You pause in the doorway as trained. You wait. You are never to enter until acknowledged. That's part of the etiquette here. Not just about manners, about control. Mrs. Cartwright looks up and offers the smallest of nods. Ah, and here is Mary now, she says, turning slightly toward the gentleman. She's just the person you were hoping to meet. The man turns. He appears to be around 45, perhaps a little older. Gray dusts his temples. His face is sun-worn, the kind of leathery weathering that comes from working outdoors or traveling often. His eyes are cautious but kind. His expression is tinged with nervousness, not fear, exactly, but discomfort at his own presence here. A new visitor, then. How do you do, sir? You say with a graceful curtsy. It's not too deep, just enough to show respect without submission. Your voice has changed too, softened slightly, carrying a tone you've practiced. Refined. Polished. He bows his head slightly in return. Charles Wilson, he offers. It's probably not his real name. Rarely is. But that doesn't matter. Names in this place are more about intention than identity. Would you care for a refreshment, Mr. Wilson? Mrs. Cartwright asks, already moving toward the small cabinet you'd carefully polished earlier. A glass of sherry, perhaps? Or brandy, if you prefer. This is part of the ritual, the offering of a drink. It's not just courtesy. It's a calculated step in transforming the interaction into something that feels social, even civil, rather than transactional. Sherry would be lovely, he says. Mrs. Cartwright pours, her movements fluid and exact. Then, with the glass in hand, she gives you both a nod and excuses herself. The blue room is available whenever you're ready. And then you're alone together. The parlor is quiet. The fire in the grate crackles gently, sending shadows dancing along the walls. Outside, the city's muffled sounds continue, hooves, vendors, distant shouting. Life in motion. But here, the air feels suspended. Just you and Mr. Wilson. Please have a seat, you say, gesturing to one of the armchairs by the hearth. He sits gingerly, still unsure. You choose the opposite chair, settling in with practiced ease. Your posture is poised, your hands relaxed in your lap. Not too close. Not too far. A careful, calibrated distance. Is this your first visit to our house, Mr. Wilson? You ask, though you already know the answer. He smiles sheepishly. Is it that obvious? You return the smile, subtle, professional, reassuring. Not at all. I simply don't believe we've met before. And I make a point to know all our regular guests. He seems to relax just a fraction. The tension in his shoulders lessens. Yes, it's my first time, he admits. A friend of mine, a business associate, really recommended this place. Said it was well-run, respectable. That word again. Respectable. It's always laced with implication. In this society, it's not about morality, it's about appearances. Maintaining a veneer. Holding the line between what is acceptable in public and what is tolerated in private. Mrs. Cartwright takes great pride in running a proper house, you say with a nod. You'll find everything here is handled with care, discretion, and good taste. He nods, taking a sip of his drink. His hand is steadier now. The first layer of awkwardness is already fading. The dance has begun, and he is learning the steps. And you and Mary, was it? Have you been here long? A predictable question. A way to gauge experience, to make conversation feel normal. You give him the truth. Nearly 2 years, you reply. You leave it at that. No need to elaborate unless prompted. The conversation continues in this gentle, surface-level manner. The weather. A recent exhibit at the Crystal Palace. His business, an importer of teas and spices, he says vaguely. You smile and ask the right questions, giving him space to talk about himself without pressure. It's what many men want, to be heard. To feel interesting. Important. Noticed. And while he speaks, you watch. Not just to listen, but to read him. His body language, his expressions, the little tells that give you insight. He doesn't avoid your eyes, and there's no leering in his gaze. Just curiosity. Loneliness, maybe? You wonder if he's widowed or if his wife has grown distant. Many of them are. He finishes his drink, places the empty glass gently on the small table between you. There's a pause, a shift in energy. You recognize it immediately. The moment has arrived. Would you care to continue our conversation somewhere more private, Mr. Wilson? You ask, voice soft but clear. He nods. Yes, I believe I would. You rise smoothly, feeling the fabric of your skirt sway around your legs. You offer your hand, not commanding, but inviting. A gesture of courtesy. Choice. He takes it briefly. Then let's go. You lead him from the parlor, through the narrow hallway, and up the stairs. His footsteps echo behind yours. He doesn't speak. Doesn't need to. The blue room waits. It's not a personal room, it belongs to no one. It's simply a space designated for daytime clients. A neutral setting. It's clean, orderly. The bed is freshly made. A washstand sits in the corner. A small chest holds the necessary items. The encounter itself is unremarkable in the way that many are. Mr. Wilson is respectful. Not rough. Not demanding. He doesn't rush, but neither does he linger beyond his hour. There's conversation after, surprisingly tender. His head rests on your shoulder. You stroke his hair gently. This, too, is part of what he's paying for, not just the physicality, but the illusion of closeness. The hallway clock chimes softly in the distance. The hour is over. He dresses without haste, adjusting his collar, straightening his cuffs. He looks at you with a gentle gratitude. Thank you, he says quietly. You've been very kind. It was my pleasure, you reply, as always. But you mean it more than usual. Some men are difficult. Some are worse. Mr. Wilson was easy. He presses a small coin into your hand. Extra. A tip? Then, as if summoned, Mrs. Winters appears in the hallway to escort him out discreetly. She times these things with uncanny precision. Once he's gone, you turn back to the room. There's still work to do. The customer never sees this part, the aftermath. You strip the bed, bundling the used sheet for the laundry. A clean one comes from the chest. The corners are tucked tight. The pillowcase is changed. At the washstand, you clean yourself thoroughly using the cloth and water provided. Not just for hygiene, but for clarity. For separation. One man must not blend into the next. You dump the used water, refill the basin, straighten the towels, reset the soap. You glance at the mirror. Your hair is slightly mussed. You fix it with deft fingers. There's a wrinkle in your skirt where he had held you. You smooth it away. Your face looks back at you. The same eyes. The same lips. Still you. You stand in the middle of the quiet room just for a moment, breathing, listening. The house murmurs around you, muffled voices below, clatter from the kitchen, the steady tick of the clock. You feel your breath slow. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Just like that. Letting go. The hallway clock strikes 3. You gather the laundry bundle and leave the blue room behind, door clicking shut. The rest of the day stretches ahead. More to come. It's part of the ritual, this cleanup, this quiet recalibration after each man departs. It's not just hygiene. It's about preserving your own mental distance. Every client remains a separate memory, every interaction a closed chapter. Keeping the lines clear is what protects you. The basin's used water is poured into the slop bucket tucked beneath the stand. Betsy will come by later to empty it. You refill the bowl with fresh water from the large ceramic pitcher, making sure everything is once again in perfect order. The towels are neatly folded, the soap set just so on its dish, edges squared and dry. Before leaving, you turn toward the mirror hanging above the dresser. Your reflection greets you, worn but composed. Your hair has been tousled slightly. With a few swift, practiced movements of your fingers, you twist the loose strands back into place. One hand smooths over your dress, brushing away the shallow wrinkle left by Mr. Wilson's hand on your hip. The fabric yields under your palm, erasing the evidence. Your eyes meet your own. Still you. Still intact. This moment, this small pause before rejoining the flow of the house is precious. You feel the wooden floorboards under your boots, hear the murmur of voices below, the faint ticking of the hall clock just outside the door. A breath between rolls. A space to just exist without performing. And then, with one final glance in the mirror, you open the door. Downstairs, the afternoon has bloomed into full activity. You hear voices from the front sitting room, Sarah entertaining an older gentleman whose laugh bubbles up too often, too loudly. There's someone new in the hallway speaking with Emily, his accent sharp and foreign. The house is alive with motion, with negotiation, with delicate theater. You descend the stairs slowly, still carrying the linen bundle from the blue room. Mrs. Winters appears at the bottom, reaching out to take it from you with her usual efficient silence. No words are needed. She knows the rhythm of the house as well as any of you. Back in the kitchen, the smells have shifted. Stew simmers on the stove, the savory aroma weaving around warm bread and wood smoke. Cook works with her sleeves rolled high, kneading dough with a force that seems to defy her age. Betsy sits in the corner peeling potatoes, her movements quick and careful. You step to the basin near the scullery to rinse your hands, the cool water washing away the last trace of perfume, skin, and memory. As you dry them, the kitchen door swings open and Sarah enters, her cheeks slightly flushed. She offers you a small nod. He wanted to talk politics. Can you imagine? You smile. Did you let him? For the first 15 minutes, she says with a shrug. After that, I reminded him he wasn't in Parliament, and he laughed so hard he almost choked. Sarah's sharp like that. She knows when to be witty, when to be silent, when to hold a man's gaze just long enough to make him feel seen. How is yours? She asks, lowering her voice. Kind. Quiet. First time. She nods, not needing more. The two of you sit for a few moments at the small kitchen table, letting the warmth from the hearth ease into your bones. Outside, the light has begun to fade. London's gray afternoons slide into dusk quickly this time of year. The sky presses low against the rooftops, and the scent of distant rain lingers in the wind curling in through the back door. The rest of the girls are trickling in now, rotating through their shifts. Lily comes in giggling with Josephine, who's already looking a little better after her rest. Her skin's still pale, but the fire is returning to her voice. There's a hum of life now, shoes being changed, garments adjusted, hair repinned, stockings inspected for runs. Evenings are the busiest time. The house must sparkle. So must you. You rise, heading upstairs to your own room once more. Even this ascent has a rhythm, certain steps creak, certain ones do not. You take them almost unconsciously, counting the floorboards beneath your feet like notes in a song. In your room, you select the evening dress you've set aside earlier, a deep plum-colored gown with lace along the cuffs and neckline. Not your finest, but elegant enough for the type of gentleman expected tonight. You lay it out carefully across the bed, smoothing it with your hands. Then you begin the evening ritual. First, you undress down to your shift. The corset comes next, tighter now, more structured. You lace it yourself with practiced ease, tugging it snug until your waist is drawn in enough to produce the desired silhouette. You know your shape, know what flatters your frame. Then the dress. The sleeves tugged up. The bodice fastened, hooks aligned perfectly. The skirt flares just so, the hem skimming your ankles. Stockings adjusted. Slippers polished. You examine yourself in the mirror, head to toe. Then you sit to paint your face. Not garish, Mrs. Cartwright forbids that, but tasteful touches. A faint dusting of powder to hide shadows beneath the eyes. A tiny brush of rose on the cheeks. A light tint to the lips. A bit of oil to make them shine. You dab a touch of scent behind each ear, along your wrists. Not too much, just enough to suggest cleanliness, sweetness, mystery. Lastly, the hair. You unpin it and brush it out fully first, letting it fall in waves over your shoulders. Then you twist it into an elegant coil at the back of your head, pinning it in place with a silver comb. One curl is left to frame your cheek, a calculated imperfection. You're ready. Downstairs, the parlor glows now with firelight and lamps. The velvet curtains are drawn against the dark. Soft music plays from the small gramophone, one of the house's few modern luxuries. A string quartet recorded onto wax. It's barely audible above the crackle of logs, but it sets the mood. Customers will be arriving soon, some familiar, others not. Mrs. Cartwright enters, sweeping through the space like a conductor checking her orchestra. She adjusts a vase of flowers, inspects the drink tray, straightens a picture frame. Her presence alone shifts the air, tightens it, focuses it. She expects everything to run smoothly. You take your place near the hearth, seated on the edge of one of the velvet armchairs. Lily and Emily perch on the settee nearby, whispering and laughing softly. Josephine is practicing her smile in the mirror. Sarah is helping a man remove his overcoat in the entryway, her voice warm and practiced. The bell rings again. Another guest arrives. The evening begins. A small paper packet of hairpins to prove your purpose. She glances at the crinkled bag and gives a slight nod, satisfied, before heading toward the kitchen. The quiet jingle of her keys bounces against her hip with every step. Mrs. Winters isn't unfriendly, not exactly. She doesn't dislike you. In fact, she's known to be fair, even protective at times. But her role in the house demands a certain formality, a measure of detachment. She's not one of the girls, and never was. She exists at a half-step remove, watching, organizing, never fully engaging. Upstairs, the entire top floor buzzes with careful movement and soft voices. Doors are open, revealing rooms in various states of preparation. The girls drift between them, lending each other items, sharing quick advice, adjusting skirts and sleeves. It's a peculiar balance, each woman responsible for herself, but supported by the others in small but vital ways. A network of quiet efficiency, built over months of shared work and whispered routines. You find Lily in your room, halfway dressed in her favorite green silk gown. The color flatters her, draws out the gold in her hair and the sparkle in her eyes, but she's twisted awkwardly, arms behind her as she tries to fasten the back. "Oh, thank God," she says, catching sight of you in the mirror. "I was about to give up and strangle myself with these blasted buttons." You smile and set your hairpins on the table before stepping behind her. Your fingers find the tiny fabric-covered fastenings and begin working them one by one, your movements quick and practiced. "There," you murmur, smoothing the fabric once the final button is secured. Try not to pop them all open mid-curtsy. Lily laughs. No promises. Mr. Farthington seems to think I'm sewn into my dresses with magic thread. Maybe you are. She turns and gives you a quick kiss on the cheek. You're the best. You shrug it off with a smile. That's how it is, help when you can, ask when you need. That unspoken understanding runs deeper than rules. You turn your attention to your own preparations. The last of your pins go into your hair, holding the style you've chosen for the evening. You dab a small touch of perfume at your throat. A new blend with a faint hint of rose and lemon, light but elegant. I heard we've got someone from Parliament coming tonight, Lily says, fluffing the skirts of her dress. Not a minister, but one of those who wants to be. You know which one? No name yet. Sarah says Mrs. Cartwright's keeping it quiet. You nod. It makes sense. Discretion is vital when it comes to men of influence, especially those who'll preach morals in the house by day and sneak through this door at night. Whoever he is, I hope he's generous, Lily adds, adjusting her earrings. I need a new pair of gloves. Down the hall, Emily's laugh rings out, quick and bright, followed by the deeper rumble of a male voice. The guests have begun arriving in earnest now. You can feel the shift in the house's pulse. You ready? Lily asks, smoothing her bodice once more. You give a final glance at your reflection. The woman staring back at you is poised, composed. Not the country girl you once were. Not just Mary, but Mary the illusion, the performance, the safety and charm and warmth that gentlemen pay for without ever knowing they want it. Yes, you say softly. Let's go. The hallway is warm and smells faintly of beeswax and wood polish. You and Lily move together down the stairs, hips swaying subtly with each step. You can hear the string music playing once more from the gramophone, weaving its way through the house like perfume. The parlor is glowing, lamplight soft on velvet, flames flickering behind the hearth grate. Sarah is seated on the settee beside a silver-haired man in a dark waistcoat, her posture flawless, one gloved hand resting lightly on his. She looks like she was born in this room. Emily flits past you with a tray of glasses, brandy, wine, a single flute of champagne that likely won't last long. Mrs. Cartwright stands near the mantel, surveying everything with her practiced eye. When she sees you and Lily, she gives the faintest tilt of her head. Approval. There's no formal assignment. You're expected to read the room, find a guest who hasn't been paired, make yourself available without appearing desperate. It's a dance, as much mental as it is physical. You spot him near the back of the room. A man in his mid-30s, brown hair neat, hands tucked behind his back as he inspects a framed landscape. His suit is well-made but not showy. Expensive taste worn modestly. He holds himself with quiet confidence. You glide toward him. Evening, you say gently, not too close. Are you enjoying the art? Or just avoiding conversation? He turns, a little startled, but his eyes warm quickly. A bit of both, I think. You laugh softly. Well then, perhaps I can tempt you into a bit of both as well. He smiles at that, and something in his shoulders loosens. You're good at this, easing the tension, drawing out the hidden warmth, offering companionship with the faintest touch of flirtation. He introduces himself as Mr. Langford, again, likely not his true name. You don't ask. That's part of the spell. You sit together near the fire, sipping wine, trading observations about the room, the weather, the latest gossip from Parliament. He's articulate, clever, just guarded enough to be interesting. You don't rush. That's the trick with the better clients. Time is part of what they're buying, not just your body, but your attention, your wit, the illusion that they matter. Eventually, he leans in, lowers his voice, and says, "Would you accompany me upstairs?" And you nod, rising with smooth grace. He offers his arm. You take it. This time, it's the Rose Room, small, cozy, with soft pink wallpaper and a chaise by the window. You light the lamp on the side table, letting the glow spill softly over the bed. He moves with care, not tentative but deliberate. Every movement seeks permission before continuing. He undresses only partly, shirt open, trousers loosened. You guide the rest. It's your rhythm, your tempo, even if he doesn't realize it. Afterward, he lies beside you for a moment, one hand resting over his chest, breathing quietly. "That was lovely," he says. "You're very good at what you do." You smile. "That's kind of you." He sits up, buttons his shirt, combs a hand through his hair. He doesn't linger. Some do, but not Mr. Langford. Before leaving, he pulls something from his coat pocket, 2 folded bills, and places them discreetly on the edge of the dresser. "For your time," he says, "and your company." You nod your thanks. As always, Mrs. Winters appears precisely when needed, leading him away with calm professionalism. No one says goodbye. You clean the room quickly, stripping the sheets, rinsing at the basin, rep-inning your hair, wiping your lips clean of rouge. The next hour will bring another man, another conversation, another illusion. But for now, you stand a moment by the window, looking down into the dim street below. Gaslight spills across wet cobblestones. A carriage passes. Somewhere, a boy whistles a tune. You close the curtain gently. The night continues. Your hand glides along the wall as you walk, fingertips brushing the faint ridges of the wallpaper. There's something grounding in that sensation. Textured, steady, unmistakably real. You're fully present in your body, centered in this moment. Calm, collected, every movement intentional, every step part of the rhythm you've learned so well. The parlor has changed again since earlier in the day, transformed like the women who move through it. Heavy drapes have been drawn shut, sealing out the darkness. Gas lamps glow warmly in each corner, their flames trimmed low to flatter skin and soften edges. The fireplace crackles, casting flickering light across the polished floorboards and velvet furniture. The London cold is kept firmly at bay. A crystal decanter of cherry sits on the small table by the hearth, surrounded by delicate glasses, a dish of sugared almonds, and a small plate of biscuits dusted with fine powdered sugar. It's all part of the illusion. Comfort, refinement, warmth. The illusion that nothing outside this room matters. Sarah is already in place, lounging with deliberate ease on one of the tufted sofas. Her gown is a deep burgundy, the rich color highlighting the paleness of her skin. Her blonde hair has been pinned up into an elaborate arrangement, accented with tiny pearl pins that catch the light as she turns her head. Everything about her presentation is precise. She looks up as you enter, her eyes scanning your appearance with the quick, practiced assessment of someone who knows how much image matters. "You look well," she says, her voice low, approving. "That shade of blue does wonders for your eyes." You smile and nod, settling into one of the armchairs across from her. The upholstery is firm beneath you, the cushion holding its shape. Even that is intentional. Supportive seating encourages good posture. "Thank you," you reply. "You look radiant tonight." She offers a graceful shrug. "I had help. Lily loaned me her pearl drops." There's a pause. The fire crackles. In the distance, a door opens and closes. Another guest arriving. Somewhere above, a floorboard creaks. Life flows through the house in waves, just beneath the surface. Sarah leans forward slightly. How's Josephine? Better. She's resting more. The cough is lighter. She's strong, Sarah says. She'll find her pace. We all did. You nod, but your thoughts linger. Not all of them do, you think. Some girls falter. Some break. But you don't say it aloud. The silence protects the hope. You reach for one of the small biscuits and take a bite. The sugar melts on your tongue, sweet and delicate. It's another one of Cook's creations, part comfort, part decadence. You chew slowly, savoring the flavor, letting it remind you that there are still simple pleasures to be found, even here. A new voice drifts into the room, a rich baritone, smooth and self-assured. You recognize it instantly. Mr. Harrow. Sarah lifts a brow. He's back again. Third time this week. He must be in need of something, or running from something. You both smile. You understand the patterns. Some men come for novelty, others for routine. But the most frequent ones come not for what they find here, but for what they leave behind. Mr. Harrow enters a few minutes later. Tall, dark-haired, eyes like polished slate. He carries himself with the kind of confidence that only comes from wealth or arrogance, or both. Tonight he's dressed in a tailored gray coat, gloves tucked into one hand. He scans the room quickly, his gaze pausing on Sarah, then sliding toward you. He approaches with a faint smile. Evening, ladies. Mr. Harrow, Sarah says with a tilt of her head. Back so soon. We're flattered. I find your company restorative, he replies, his voice like fine scotch, smooth, aged, with a hint of burn. He turns toward you. Would you do me the honor? You rise, brushing invisible lint from your skirt. Of course. He offers his arm and you take it. The room behind you fades as the two of you move through the hallway. The gaslight casts long shadows. Your heels tap softly against the wood. You lead him upstairs to the amber room. Golden wallpaper, heavy drapes, a mirror over the fireplace. It's warm already. Betsy must have lit the hearth earlier. Inside, the scene plays out as it always does. Wine poured, compliments exchanged, clothing loosened. Mr. Harrow prefers conversation to begin with. He likes to tell stories, always about business or politics, or people you've never met and likely never will. You play your part, asking just enough questions, laughing at the right moments, offering small comments that let him feel admired. When the physical part begins, it's brief, efficient. He knows what he wants and takes it with a quiet intensity. You've learned how to follow his rhythm, how to stay just present enough. He never lingers afterward. As he dresses, he catches your eye in the mirror. You're the only one here who doesn't flinch when I touch her, he says suddenly. You meet his gaze evenly. That's because you don't hurt me. He doesn't respond, just buttons his shirt and places 2 sovereigns on the mantel. Then, like clockwork, Mrs. Winters appears to escort him out. You remain in the room for a few moments longer. You fold the linens, pour fresh water. Washington recenter. By the time you return downstairs, Sarah has gone, and Emily is curled up by the fire, her cheeks pink, her hair a little tousled. Was he charming? She asks as you pass. As always, you say. You pour yourself a small glass of cherry and take a seat. The cushions are warm. The fire is lower now, casting shadows that flicker like memory. You sip slowly, letting the sweetness coat your tongue. Your muscles begin to relax. You close your eyes for a moment and just breathe. The bed, your working bed, not the one you actually sleep in, takes up most of the room. It's dressed in crisp linens, fluffed pillows arranged carefully at the headboard. It always looks pristine, like something out of a genteel country guest house. That illusion, too, has been finely tuned over time. A modest fire burns steadily in the small grate at the far wall, just strong enough to ease the chill that clings to London's winter evenings. The flames pop softly, their light flickering across the carved mantel and the floorboards beneath your shoes. The room is warm but not stifling. On the washstand sits a freshly filled pitcher and basin, 2 folded towels, and a bar of pleasantly scented soap, lavender, tonight. Nearby, a modest screen provides a pocket of privacy for undressing, though few clients ever request it. It's mostly for you, a little symbol of control, a way to choose how much of yourself is offered and when. The gas lamp overhead burns low, casting a golden hue across the wallpaper. The corners of the room dissolve into shadows, allowing imperfection to vanish under its forgiving light. The effect is deliberate. It smooths the lines in your face, softens the shape of your body, makes everyone feel a bit more beautiful. On the windowsill rests a small vase of hothouse flowers. Today's arrangement includes a pale camellia and 2 sprigs of lily of the valley. Extravagant, yes. Imported. But Mrs. Cartwright insists. A detail like that, she says, makes all the difference. Clients notice even if they don't realize it. Mr. Hamilton glances around the room, clearly pleased. He's tall, with graying hair and the composed air of someone used to being obeyed without question. His coat is already off, draped over the back of the chair. His hands are tucked behind him as he surveys the space. "Charming," he says finally. "Quite charming." "Thank you," you respond, shutting the door behind you with a soft click. "Please make yourself comfortable." He nods, stepping toward the hearth to warm his hands, his eyes still roving. It's not leering, not yet, more like appraisal. He's taking in the setting, the atmosphere, and you all in one glance. What follows is a practice pattern, familiar in every beat. Conversation begins easily, his voice low, his tone confident but not unkind. He speaks of Parliament, of the weather in York, of the latest developments in the railway shares. You listen attentively, respond when required, let your posture and your gaze encourage his speech. The art is in appearing fascinated without interruption. As the minutes pass, the tone subtly shifts. His stories grow more personal. The inflection in his voice softens. He leans a little closer. You nod, smile, occasionally laugh. You let your fingers rest lightly on your lap, your posture straight but not rigid. Then the first touch, perhaps a hand brushing against yours. Not rushed. Tested. You don't flinch. That's important. You meet his gaze. Unspoken negotiations pass between you. The consent embedded in your stillness, in the turn of your wrist, the parting of your lips, just enough to signal openness. You stand and move slowly to the edge of the bed. You sit, then shift your skirt to the side. He follows you with his eyes. "What's your real name?" he asks suddenly. You offer the faintest smile. "What would be the fun in telling you that?" He chuckles, more amused than disappointed. You don't answer that question. You never do. The name you use here is the one that matters. The one that belongs to this room, this performance, this transaction built on trust and illusion. He stands, removes his waistcoat, then his boots. His movements are neat, almost ritualistic. There's nothing frantic about him. Everything is slow, deliberate. You unlace your bodice, let the fabric fall open at the shoulders. You've done it 1,000 times, yet the moment still requires a kind of inner breath. A mental step aside. You watch yourself, in a way, from somewhere just behind your own eyes. He approaches. His fingers find your waist. The physical act is brief, practiced. He prefers quiet. No theatrics. You match his pace, mirror his breath. You know this role. You fill it perfectly. When it's over, he lies beside you for a moment. Not close, but not distant either. Just resting, as if he's forgotten what came before and what will come after. "You're very graceful," he says softly. "Elegant." You smile again. "That's kind of you." He nods, then sits up to redress. Some clients want conversation afterward. Some want silence. Mr. Hamilton wants ritual. He dons his shirt, reknots his tie, brushes a speck of lint from his trousers. You begin to dress too quietly without ceremony. There's no shame here, only routine. He moves toward the table and places a folded note down beside the flower vase. You don't reach for it. Not yet. That comes later. Until next time, he says, adjusting his cufflinks. Until then, you reply. He leaves. The door closes. You wait. 1 minute. 2. Listening for his footsteps down the stairs, for Mrs. Winter's voice, the murmur of coats and keys and goodbyes. Then silence. Now you begin the process of resetting. The basin is filled. The towels are refreshed. The sheets stripped and replaced. You move through it quickly, efficiently. Your body remembers each motion, even when your mind is elsewhere. You wash your skin slowly, neck, arms, thighs. Not with urgency, but with care. You are not scrubbing him off. You are reclaiming yourself. When the room is once again in order, you pause. You walk to the window. Lift the curtain. The city outside is wrapped in mist. Lanterns glow like faint stars in the fog. The street below is quiet. A single carriage passes, wheels cutting through damp cobblestones. Somewhere, bells chime the hour. 9 o'clock. You smooth your dress and step into the hallway. The night is not over yet. The two of you sit in silence, bodies loose, shoulders lowered, breathing deep and natural. The chairs by the hearth are still warm from the last guests who sat in them, and the fire continues to crackle softly. This space, this little slice of time between clients, belongs to you. It's not assigned or earned, not owed or observed. Just a moment to breathe. To be. There's something sacred in the stillness. For once, there's no need to smile or seduce, no requirement to listen or speak, to perform or reassure. You simply exist, wrapped in gentle lamplight, the scent of wood smoke and lavender hanging in the air. Your chest rises and falls in an easy rhythm. The silence is a balm. Even your thoughts slow down, lose their sharpness. The chair beneath you is firm, grounding. The edge of the rug curls a little beneath your boot, and you let your heel rest there, pressed into its soft fringe. Lily sighs beside you and leans back into her seat. Her arms drape across the arms of the chair, her head tilted slightly, lips parted as if she might speak, but then decides not to. Finally, she murmurs, "Quiet night for November." You nod. Late rain. Might have scared off the early crowd. She tilts her head toward the curtain window where you can still hear the occasional tap of rain against the panes, soft now, almost soothing. Do you think it'll pick up again later? She asks. Maybe, if the theater crowd comes through. That's always the trade-off on a wet night, whether the gentleman will brave the puddles and slick cobblestones after curtain fall. The post-theater hours can be lively, filled with men flushed from wine and performance, generous in praise and coin alike. But just as often, they go home instead, tired, damp, and dulled by dinner. You've learned not to hope too hard. It's been a good week, Lily adds, stretching her legs. You hum in agreement. Business is never a guarantee, but you've both had steady clients lately. Mr. Langford, Mr. Harrow, a few traveling merchants with heavy coin and light morals. Even Mr. Ashe came back, a surprise after the awkwardness last month. You think he'll ask for you again? Lily asks, reading your thoughts. You shrug. Maybe. Lily smiles, then reaches for a sugared almond from the small bowl nearby. She pops it into her mouth and chews slowly. Remember when we first started, she says around the suite. You do. You remember it vividly, the nerves, the careful instruction, the sense of standing on the edge of something vast and irreversible. The strange blend of fear and resolve. That first night you wore silk instead of cotton. That first man who looked at you like you were something rare. You nod. I was terrified. I cried in the bath after my first, Lily admits, no shame in her voice. Not because of him. He was gentle. I just didn't know who I was supposed to be after. You understand that perfectly. There's a moment after each encounter, especially in the early days, when your skin feels unfamiliar. Like you've stepped outside yourself and the way back in isn't immediately clear. "Now look at us," Lily says, her voice amused but not unkind. "Professionals," you reply with a small smile. She raises her glass. "To professionals." You clink your own glass lightly against hers. The sound is soft, like wind chimes. Across the room, Emily is curled up on a chaise, her hair in a loose braid, a novel open across her knees. She looks younger like this, more girl than woman. Her lips move silently as she reads, her brow furrowed slightly in concentration. Josephine has dozed off in the chair beside her, her head resting against the winged side. A blanket lies half across her lap, one hand still curled in sleep. She looks peaceful, healthier than she did a week ago. Sarah isn't in the room. She's likely upstairs or perhaps seeing a client out the back. She moves with a rhythm of her own, efficient and independent. You admire that about her. Mrs. Cartwright steps in just then, her keys jingling faintly at her hip. She surveys the room quickly, her eyes moving from girl to girl, checking posture, hair, glass levels, mood. Then, satisfied, she adjusts a lamp and disappears again. Everything has a rhythm, a pulse, a pattern. You set your glass down and adjust your bodice. It's grown slightly loose at the neckline. The firelight makes the silk shimmer, and for a moment you catch your reflection in the window, soft, shadowed, elegant. There's a knock at the front door. Mrs. Winters answers it, her voice a quiet murmur. Then footsteps. Male, deliberate. The house shifts again. The calm thins. Another guest has arrived. You and Lily rise at the same time. You smooth your dress, she reties the ribbon at her waist. A final glance in the mirror. Just enough to confirm that everything is in place. Then, together, you step forward. The air in the room is heavy, saturated with the mingling of skin, cologne, and the fading trace of lavender water. A humid warmth lingers in the space between bodies, clinging to the sheets and the folds of the quilt now rumpled beneath you. From outside, the rain has resumed, light, persistent, whispering against the glass with irregular rhythm, like a quiet conversation between the city and the night. Muted sounds drift through the house. A burst of muffled laughter from the sitting room. The low resonance of male voices in conversation. The subtle groan of a floorboard as someone moves down the hallway beyond your door. Your body registers its familiar postlude, a gentle ache along your inner thighs, the tacky residue of touch between skin and skin, the distant hum of your muscles unwinding after prolonged tension. Nothing painful, just the residue of labor. The realness of a body having done what it was trained to do. Beside you, Edward stirs. He shifts against the pillow, blinking into the glow of the bedside lamp, his breath deepening from the slow rhythm of sleep to the more conscious pattern of waking. "Oh," he murmurs, surprised to find himself still there. "I must have my apologies." You turn toward him with a practiced, gentle smile. "No apology needed," you say in that smooth, reassuring tone that always sounds entirely sincere. "You seem content. I didn't want to wake you." His eyes search your face for any trace of reproach. Finding none, he exhales a soft breath of gratitude and returns your smile. There's something boyish about him in this moment. Vulnerable, disarmed by kindness. The rest plays out as expected. He dresses quietly, piece by piece, retrieving his waistcoat from the chair, slipping on his polished shoes. You pull the sheet up over your bare chest, not out of modesty, but to give the illusion of it. A gesture he appreciates but doesn't demand. As he fastens his cufflinks, he says, "You always make it feel like time stops here." You incline your head slightly, letting the compliment linger in the air between you. That's the idea. He walks to the small dresser where he'd laid his coin earlier. He adds a few more notes on top of it, folding them neatly. "You are different from the others." They always say that. You let the words float past without catching them. Not dismissive, just unweighted. You've heard variations too many times to give them shape. But he means it in his way. And that's enough. Mrs. Winters knocks, then enters after a beat. As always, she's timed it to perfection. Edward nods to her, then turns back to you with one final, fleeting look. "Until next time," he says. "Until then." And then he's gone. You wait for the sound of footsteps down the stairs, for the front door to open and close. The house exhales again, returns to its pulse. You rise from the bed, padding across the worn rug to the washstand. The water in the pitcher is cool, refreshing. You dampen a cloth, press it gently to your chest, your throat, between your thighs. Each movement is measured, neither rushed nor indulgent. You redress in silence, smoothing your bodice, twisting your hair back into a knot. You check your reflection, not for vanity, but for readiness. For continuity. Back in the hallway, the scent of beeswax and smoke meets you. You pause at the top of the stairs, one hand lightly grazing the banister. Down below, the rooms remain dim and inviting. The parlor's lights are low, its curtains drawn. You hear the gramophone again, another record turned, the slow swell of strings humming through the air. You descend. In the kitchen, cook is quietly preparing the late-night tea tray. A kettle hisses gently on the hob. Josephine is there too, seated at the small table, her chin resting in her hand. She looks up and offers a faint smile. "Last one for tonight?" she asks. "Maybe," you reply. "We'll see if the door rings again." She pours a cup of tea for you without asking. The mug is warm between your fingers, the steam carrying the soft scent of mint. You take a sip and close your eyes briefly, letting the taste settle. The two of you sit in silence, wrapped in the quiet comfort of habit. Sarah passes through, humming under her breath, a ribbon dangling from her fingers. She disappears into the hallway with a nod. Lily arrives soon after, her hair down, her cheeks flushed. "He brought me chocolates," she says with a pleased smile. "French. Real ones." You all murmur admiration, and she grins wider. "I hid half under my pillow. The rest are for breakfast." The fire in the kitchen hearth has burned low, casting long shadows across the tiled floor. Outside, the rain slows, then fades. A cat yowls from a nearby alley. Somewhere, a clock chimes midnight. Mrs. Cartwright appears in the doorway, silhouetted in the glow. "Ladies," she says softly. "Time to close up." You all nod. The parlor is tidied. Glasses cleared. Cushions straightened. Drapes adjusted. Lamps turned down one by one. The house is made ready for sleep. Upstairs, you change into your nightdress, letting the weight of the day slide from your shoulders. You climb into bed, sheets cool against your skin. From the next room, you hear Emily's soft singing, something gentle, half-remembered. A lullaby she must have carried from childhood. You lie still in the dark, your hands folded beneath your cheek. Tomorrow will bring more guests. More rituals. More performances. But for now, there is rest. And the sound of rain beginning once more on the roof above.